answer. All right, well, good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. I'll kick off. So welcome to Rugby Brough Council's Cabinet meeting. I'm Councillor Michael Moran, Leader of the Council and Chair of Cabinet. I'd like to welcome members of the public in the gallery this evening to observe the meeting. I would, however, ask that you do not attempt to participate in the meeting. But we are being web streamed, and I hope there's a decent audience online to view tonight's meeting. They're viewing that through the Council's YouTube channel, so welcome to everybody to this meeting. During the meeting, for members of Cabinet and the spokespeople for the different political groups, if you wish to speak, when asked to do so, please use your push-to-talk button on the microphone in front of you. Before we begin the formal agenda, I'm obliged to read out the following fire notice. There is no fire drill scheduled in the building this evening. If the fire alarm does sound, then please could I ask that you make your way out of the building, down the staircase and out of the main doors of the Town Hall and congregate to the entrance to Caldecott Park. An officer of the Council will give instructions on when it is safe to return to the building. So with that done, I'll move on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies. Chief Executive, do we have any apologies?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, all. We have received apologies from Councillor Roodhouse this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief Executive. So moving on, item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations under A, non-pecuniary interests as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors? We'll start. Councillor Edwards, would you like to go first, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to declare a non-registrable interest due to the fact I'm a member of Cabinet and due to stand for re-election in 2027. I've taken advice from the Council's monitoring officer regarding the Constitution, and my decision is that I am able to continue in this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Mystery?
Yeah, likewise, Chair, I would like to declare a non-registrable interest due to the fact that I'm a member of the Cabinet and due to stand for re-election in May 2028.
Thank you. Councillor O'Rourke?
Yes, I'd also like to declare a non-registrable interest due to the fact that I am a member of the Cabinet and I'm due to stand for re-election in 2028. I've taken advice from the Council's monitoring officer regarding the Constitution, and my decision is that I am able to continue in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to declare a non-registrable interest due to the fact that I'm a Cabinet member and due to stand for re-election in 2027. I have taken advice from the Council's monitoring officer regarding the Constitution, and my decision is that I'm able to continue in the meeting.
Thank you. And Councillor Livesey?
I'd like to declare a non-registrable interest due to the fact that I'm a member of Cabinet and due to stand for re-election in May 2026. I've taken advice from the Council's monitoring officer regarding the Constitution, and my decision is that I'm able to continue in the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Livesey. And for my part, I'd also like to declare a non-registrable interest due to the fact that I'm a member of Cabinet and due to stand for re-election in May 26. I have taken advice from the Council's monitoring officer regarding the Constitution, and my decision is that I am able to continue in the meeting. In addition, I think it is important to note that this is an extraordinary Cabinet meeting, organised in response to a letter from central government. That letter, dated 18th December, explicitly asks for my views on the matter, and therefore there can be no more transparent and appropriate forum than this for me to do just that. So I'd like to put that on the record. So anything else? Anyone else to declare? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. There are 4 questions for tonight's meetings. The questions and responses have all been circulated to all members and published on the Council's website. For the purposes of the meeting, I'll read them out. Question 1 is from Mr. Byrne, who's not present this evening, but asks the Leader of the Council. The Labour-run central government has recently invited the Labour leader of RBC amongst 60+ other local council leaders to consider whether they wish to participate in the forthcoming local elections planned for May 2026. As a democratically elected councillor himself, could the Labour leader of RBC please confirm his ongoing commitment and belief in the democratic process and reassure the voting public of Rugby Borough that the May 2026 elections will proceed as planned? In response, in accordance with the Constitution, a written response will be sent to Mr Byrne after the report has been discussed and the Cabinet has voted on the matter. Within that written response, the leader will clarify that any decision to postpone an election can only be taken by government and would require a statutory instrument to be laid in Parliament and approved. The matter before Cabinet this evening is simply to set out their views on the postponement of elections as requested in the Minister's letter, which is appended to the report. Question 2 is from Mrs Milne, who is not present this evening, but asks the Leader of the Council, as a resident of Woolston in the Borough of Rugby and a council taxpayer, I am writing regarding the notice of an extraordinary Cabinet meeting to be held on the 8th of January 2026. At this meeting, your council is being asked to recommend delaying the local elections scheduled for the 7th of May 2026 until at least 2027. I'm writing to express and record my serious concern at the prospect of your council absolutely denying your residents and council taxpayers from having their democratic right to vote on that day. As I understand it, you already have prepared all the paperwork for this venue to take place. The venues have been booked and arrangements have been made for staff. What gives you the right to seek to deny my husband and myself our democratic right for our choice of candidate in the local elections on the 7th of May 2026? In response, excuse me, in accordance with the Constitution, a written response will be sent to Mrs Milne after the report has been discussed and Cabinet have voted on the matter. Within that written response, the Leader will clarify that any decision to postpone the election is not for this Council or the Leader to individually take. This decision can only be taken by government and would require a statutory instrument to be laid in Parliament and approved. Again, the matter before Cabinet this evening is simply to set out their views on the postponement of elections as requested in the Minister's letter. Question 3 is from Deven Kedward, who is present this evening and wishes to ask the question directly herself.
What lawful and exceptional justification exists for cancelling a scheduled election and thereby extending the terms of the Leader and the Cabinet without voter consent? And on what basis does the administration claim this is compatible with democratic accountability?
Thank you for the question, and if it's okay, Chief Executive, I'll answer that directly. So tonight's extraordinary Cabinet meeting is focused on the government letter, as I mentioned before, dated 18th of December 2025, sent by Alison McGovern MP, and that asks the Leader of the Council to respond by midnight of Thursday 15th January to set out their views on the postponement of elections. And if I quote, consider if taking this step would release essential capacity to deliver local government reorganisation in the area and so allow reorganisation to progress more effectively. The letter in full is an appendix to the report. So we've been asked because we've submitted our proposal for local government reorganisation. Government has made no decision on which unitary councils are to be formed. So I want to clarify that any decision to postpone an election can only be taken by the government, and it would require a statutory instrument to be laid in Parliament and approved. So by example, the statutory instrument to postpone some local elections in 25 was the Local Authorities Act, England, Order 2025. Rugby Brough Council cannot postpone the local government election for May 26. I think it's really important to recognise the Council's response to the Minister's invitation must balance the potential benefits of postponement, such as releasing vital capacity for the effective delivery of local government reorganisation, with the need to ensure democratic continuity and public confidence in local government arrangements. The Council remains committed to engaging constructively with stakeholders during this period of uncertainty, seeking pragmatic solutions to both operational and financial pressures that may arise and ensuring that any transition is managed transparently in the best interest of the borough, its residents and communities. The ministerial letter does invite the Council to provide its comments, and that's what we're here to do this evening, which the Minister will then take into consideration in determining whether to bring forward the election's subsequent postponement. In relation to the Council's process to enable it to make comment, as this is an election matter, There are no clear delegations available, which would enable a response to be collected on behalf of the Council, and for those comments to be returned to the Minister. The Council Constitution is clear that the Cabinet has the exclusive executive responsibility for resources, which is why tonight's Cabinet report has been prepared to enable them to consider the matter and respond in the way indicated by the Minister. 63 different councils throughout England are in the same position as this council. They have been asked, as I have, to respond, and they've approached each almost without exception in a different way. This council looked at its constitution and has identified that Cabinet is the appropriate governance to express the views through me. I welcome the fact that members of the public are interested in how this council conducts its affairs. That is right and proper, and we want to do that in a transparent way. Once Cabinet has debated the report and made its views known, I will respond to the Minister. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Question, excuse me. Question 4 is from Mr. Damash, who is not present this evening, and asks the Leader of the Council, did the Council, whether through elected members or officers, at any time and in any capacity, approach central government regarding the potential cancellation of the May 2026 Borough Council elections prior to the receipt of the Minister's letter inviting councils to such cancellation? If so, A, what was the content of any such correspondence? B, on what date or dates did it occur and from whom did it originate? C, what discussions took place prior to the correspondence being sent? D, are minutes or records of those discussions available and will they be disclosed? E, which elected members were aware that such correspondence was being considered or being sent? In response, in accordance with the Constitution, a written response will be sent to Mr. Damash after the report has been discussed and Cabinet has voted on the matter. Within that response, the Leader of the Council will clarify that he is unaware of any approach by the Council to Government about cancelling the May 2026 elections prior to the receipt of the Minister's letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Item 4. So item 4 is the report of the Chief Executive regarding resourcing for the 2026 elections and local government reorganisation. Do I have a proposer?
Chair, I will move, sir.
Okay, and do I have a seconder?
I'll second, and I'll reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Councillor Mystery, can I ask you to expand upon that report?
Thank you, Chair. The Council is scheduled to have an election for 1/3 of the seats on the Council on 7th of May 2026. Several local authorities have made requests to the government to suspend this election due to the potential impact of disruption upon the progress of authorities' work towards the major local government reorganisation work stream. Mr. Chairman, this report in front of us is to determine if wishes to inform the government that postponing the May 2026 election would release resources which would better enable local government reorganisation. Council Constitution determines that the Cabinet has the general responsibility for the effective management and resources of the Council. In 2026, we'll see considerable activity in Warwickshire regarding local government reorganisation. There will be government statutory public consultation on proposals for new unitary arrangement in February 2026. On December 18th of 2025, the local government minister, Alison McGovern, made a statement inviting affected council to set out their views on the postponement of the May 2026 election in their area. And if they consider that postponement would release essential capacity to deliver local government reorganisation. The government are concerned about the capacity of the affected local authority to run the May 2026 election alongside the LGR, as well as the cost to taxpayer of holding election for council that are due to be abolished at the end of March 2028. The government described it as the largest structural reform of local government in half a century. The reorganization will involve officers working with other officers from across boundaries in Warwickshire to aggregate or disaggregate complex services for our residents to ensure that from 1st of April 2028, the new unitary or two unitaries are safe and legal. The process of local government reorganization will be extremely resource intensive with overriding requirement to ensure that services to the resident must be maintained alongside the major tasks for preparing for the biggest change to local government structure in over 50 years. I move so, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mystery. So I'm going to invite comments from each of Cabinet if they wish to speak. Then I'll come back so that everyone's got a proper chance to speak. Councillor O'Rourke, would you like to speak?
Yes. It is indeed a huge task that we are going to be sort of going on over the next few years. And from what I can see of it, where this sort of thing has happened in other places, it's taken a hell of a long time to actually get to where they need to be. And given all the sort of pressures on local government, I think we owe it to do the best we can within the time that we've got to make sure that we're properly prepared to actually deliver on that. Now, for me, I'm very passionate about our local identity, as you probably know. I've been in rugby a long time, and even though I wasn't born here, I see it as my town. And my children are all born here, and my grandchildren. And in rugby, unfortunately, as you will all know, we've not been in power that long, but it's been a decision, it's been blocked by the then administration for us not to actually form a town council, which we should have done a long time ago. Most of the sort of councils, borough councils and district councils in Warwickshire have, not all of them, but most of them, have already got town councils. So we're right behind the curb on that in forming a town council. And I know the sort of leader of the opposition is as worried as I am about preserving some of the services and keeping what we can locally. And in order to do that, we need to be moving forward very swiftly with this work on a town council. As I say, it's not an easy task. And in addition to that, I think also the Tory group have suggested that there might be other areas that want to be parished as well. So we've got quite a big task ahead of us just on that. And I'd just like to finish as well by saying I was over at the Warwickshire County Council yesterday, and we're a forward-looking administration here. We absolutely understand, the task that's in front of us. We think things through. We know that there's a lot of work to be done, and we're totally committed to making sure that we're going to do the right thing by the people of Rugby and retain our identity with the town council. But I must say, when I was at the county council yesterday, I was in a development session for the Health and Wellbeing Board, and we've had 2 development sessions, and and some of the things that were being suggested about who might sit on a new board actually, quite frankly, didn't take account of the big reorganisation that we're going through. So I assure you that we are taking this very seriously, and we're going to do a good job. And for me, in order to do that, we need to have all hands to the deck. We will be losing people. That is a risk. We know that. The best tend to go quite early in organisations where they don't feel they have any control over because of reorganisation. I've done enough of it myself over the years in the health service. So I do feel it is really important that we start doing some really positive stuff, we get on with it, and we look after the interests of the people of Rugby, and we use our resources wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Who would like to go next? Councillor Edwards, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted first of all to say thank you very much to our officers, particularly in legal and governance, for all their hard work in turning this report around and the additional report that we got this afternoon. It's a lot of hard work to do that, and I really, really do appreciate the time and effort that has gone into that. I've got three key remarks I want to make, really. In Rugby Brough Council, we have elections in thirds. That means in May this year, in the normal course of events, 14 councillors will be up for election. At the moment, that is just 1/3 of our total complement of 42 councillors. And at the moment, it's pretty much spread between the three main parties that are represented in this chamber. So even if all of those councillors were elected to another party that doesn't have membership in this chamber at the moment, and I'm not going to name names, the reality is that we will end up with 4 groups of similar sizes. There will be no single overall majority. That means we are in coalition and cooperative working scenario. And I like to think, as a new councillor in the last year, and with the cooperation agreement that we have with the Lib Dems, that actually we're making progress. There's still lots to do, but we are motoring on to deliver our vision and our mission for the whole of Rugby Borough, whether they vote for us or not. And I want to see that work continue because, frankly, over the next year, our focus has to be winding down Rugby Brough Council. And that's sad to know, but there will be a new structure and a new structure in place across Warwickshire, whatever that is, and we don't know what it is yet, sadly. I'm very keen that we use our resources to ensure that we do the very best operational job that we can do on a day-to-day basis, because we are elected and we have a commitment to do that, and that we are as ready as we possibly can be to protect those resources and those assets and our staff and those services, so that moving forward we get the very best deal for rugby as a borough moving forward. Even if it doesn't exist in name, it will certainly be here in spirit and willingness and standing up for our residents. My second point is really about democracy. Democracy isn't just about putting an X on a ballot paper. It is about engaging, consulting, listening to residents, to taxpayers, to tenants and businesses. That's what we're doing, and we want to do that moving forward. And my final point, I guess, is to be a provocative one. If you want an election in May 2026, and don't forget, this decision is about delaying just for a year. If you really want an election in May 2026, you can always resign and have a by-election. Go for it. I won't stand in your way. Please do take that in the manner in which it is sent in your direction. And my final point is that we have multi-party support, I believe, for a town council and better grassroots structures to have a town council, to have enhanced parish councils, and to have some form of local area committees, so that decision making is as close to local people at a grassroots level as we possibly can make it. That is the whole ethos of local government reorganisation, and we're determined to deliver on that. But that means using our election assets, and that our staff, I believe our election staff are the best in the country, frankly. It's about using their assets to make sure that we are responsive and engaged with our residents as we possibly can be, to get the best possible deal ready for reorganisation of that new authority. That will be elected, I believe, at a shadow level in 2027 and be fully operational in 2028. That has to be our focus, rather than doing manifestos saying we're going to shut up shop and that's what the platform we're standing on. There are other places that will have that opportunity. So my views are fairly sure that I think this is something that we should consider very, very strongly. moving forward. It's not anti-democratic. It is about using resources fairly and effectively and making sure that we have a stronger voice for rugby in the coming changing atmosphere as we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. That was fantastic. Councillor Livesey, can I come to you?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sometimes it's a bit hard to distinguish my professional life from my life here in the council, because in my day job I work as an independent consultant on local government transformation. And one of the reasons why people like me do the work that I do is that local government officers, no matter how willing they are, cannot be in two places at once. And I've looked at this supplementary report that came out this morning. There are 14 work streams identified, 5 of which have to start right now for the local government reorganisation. And I think it's essential that we make sure that as far as possible our officers have the capacity to do the work which will deliver the best results for rugby. We've already had some references to some of the assets in the town that could potentially be at risk under reorganisation. We're behind the curve in terms of a town council, which we need to really get our skates on getting that sorted out. And I just think that, you know, like the other speakers, we really need to put the resources where they are needed for the future, because, you know, holding elections now, I think, is looking to the past, and we really need to focus on the future.
Thank you very much, Councillor Livesey. It's always great to hear from your relevant experience from other councils. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I also have 3 points, and they've kind of modified slightly while I've been listening to my colleagues. I want to start about the opportunity here and the scale of the opportunity and the rationale, because that's the bigger picture for me. What we're looking at is transformational change. We get in our helicopters and we look at the whole of the country. You know, this is not just about rugby or just about Warwickshire. This is about improving how government operates, not just local government, actually. It interfaces with national government, and it interfaces, as Councillor O'Rourke mentioned, with the Health and Wellbeing Board and other structures like the NHS that matter fundamentally to the health and to the outcomes of our residents. So it's, you know, let's remember that that's what this is all about. It's about that transformational change. And it's a massive scale of change on a very quick time frame. We'll be voting in 2027 for the new council. It will exist in shadow form, and we transition into that in 2028. And that is a very rapid time frame. So, and then we have our staff as well that we need to be thinking about. So transformational change of that nature, it's quite anxiety provoking, as Councillor Livesey has mentioned. They've already got full-time day jobs. We've got to work out how to add this extra layer of activity. As my other colleagues have mentioned, we don't have a town council. We're running to catch up. And that, to be honest, is the kind of my experience of being in this newly formed administration, running to catch up. So for all those reasons, I am in support, and because the bigger picture is much more important. We need and the second point for me then is that we need this best outcome for rugby, essentially is what I'm getting to. We need the best possible outcome for rugby, and how do we achieve that? We achieve that by progressing with this at pace. The thing that I would point to that, and I hope that we will see some change from the Conservative group, is that we have, cross-party working groups. We have mechanisms to work together on this stuff, and I hope that this year and through this process that there will be that collaborative working with the opposition as well as with the Liberal Democrats through our supply and confidence agreement. So big change. We want what's best for rugby, and then the fairness point. What kind of reconciles my conscience in terms of the fairness point is the approach of national government has been to go out to all 63 councils and say that ask for a view. We're not making the decision. Central government will make that decision, and it is asking for a view. It hasn't gone out just to Labour councils or just to, it's not party political. That is asking all councils. And my understanding is that if any council requests it, as long as it meets the threshold, that is, the minister has indicated the willingness to cancel elections. So, it feels very transparent and open. It applies to all. It doesn't feel to me that it's a bias in any particular way towards any political party. It feels like a pragmatic decision being made so that we as a nation can deliver the transformational change that we need. So it gets my backing.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robinson. Okay, Councillor Poole, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. We've got 6 points between us, if we can share them.
Sorry, pardon me,
We've got 6 points between us.
Fantastic, great.
And first, I'd like to refer back to Councillor Robinson. Again, she's brought up about the council, the Conservatives not being part of working groups. What I do ask is, because members behind me are not allowed to speak, if you bring this up at the next full council, the people it affects, okay, will reply to you, and you will know exactly why we don't attend those meetings. Thank you, Chairman. Going back to all you guys sitting on the Cabinet, your views on the work of the council, and it's your vision. It's not relevant to the decision. It's down to the voters to make that decision, not yours. That's besides the point. Anyway, firstly, Chairman, a lot of the comments being made tonight have already been alluded to, but I've got to ask these points. Firstly, the letter from the Minister refers to receiving requests from multiple councils to postpone the local elections in May 2026. Could you, the leader of the council, confirm if Rugby was one of those councils, and if so, on what basis?
So, Councillor Poole, I don't know to what extent you may or may not speak with your Conservative colleagues, but Councillor Damesh, Yusuf Damesh, asked that question, and we confirmed the answer is no. So
that's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, what council preparations are currently taking place in respect of LGR, and what resources are shared between that work and the elections team?
Yes, please.
Okay,
yeah.
right. Finally, from my side, for my part, given the government has not yet confirmed, sorry, wrong one, the council position appears to hinge on the saving of the £160,000 as alluded to by Councillor Mistry. Does the Cabinet therefore think that the exercise of democracy is worth less than £160,000? And does that saving take into account the cost of existing parish council elections? Furthermore, what assessment of the cost of the by-elections, and if any were triggered by councillors intending to retire in May, at what point is this saving wiped out? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Poole. Perhaps I think we'll come back to some Cabinet colleagues who may wish to pick up on specifics there, but Councillor Ward, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got a few points to make as well. So the first one is the Minister's letter and statement to the House of Commons, as we've noted on the 18th of December, refers to the challenges within the capacity of the Council to handle the local government reorganisation as a reason to postpone and in effect cancel the elections in May. However, the report of the Chief Executive does not identify any such challenges. And indeed, paragraph 4.10 states members may wish to extend the case that the progress of LGR will be extremely resource intensive. This implies that the case is not self-evident and that the case needs to be extended in order to meet the criteria set out by the government. So that's my first point. The second one is Do you, as the leader of the council, do you agree with the Chief Executive of the Electoral Commission that there is a clear conflict of interest in asking existing councils, and indeed council leaders, how long it will be before they are answerable to voters, and if not, why not? And my final point is that given the government has not yet confirmed the form of LGR, because we're still in this limbo of, you know, we've put forward one unitary, could it be one, could it be two, what we'll take, and we'll not know until summer 2026, how can postponing elections possibly be justified as they before that? So those are my points. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ward. Perhaps, rather than taking things individually, could I just clarify, have you seen the addendum report that was sort of circulated today that expands on the work required for local government reorganisation?
Very briefly, because it came through about an hour ago before we came.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, look, whilst I've got the mic, I'll come to Councillor Mackenzie if you'd like to ask anything or speak or comment.
Thank you, Councillor Moran. I will make some comments. Thank you. So the Liberal Democrats are not a dictatorship, and decisions are devolved to the local area. That means it is the Rugby area executive to make a decision and write to the minister. That executive has also invited all of councillors to attend, and we are all meeting collectively on the 12th in time to write to the minister. So at this point, there is not a decision from the Rugby Liberal Democrats one way or the other. So I could just stop at this point, but I would actually like to make some further comments, but only in my personal capacity, in my own personal view, and not the view of the Rugby Lib Dems. So I want to be quite clear, this is not the view of the Rugby Lib Dems, this is my own view. And I'm going to run the risk with these comments, and I might create a soundbite for other parties to play with. I must admit, I did enjoy my transformation into a clown's outfit. Thank you so much. But I'm going to treat all those here listening as if they are adults and that we can have a nuanced discussion. So my first point is I'm not particularly confident that the Minister will care what we write at all in our letter. I think they know what they intend to do, so let's not get overly exercised about this whole thing, while still carefully considering the issue. I don't think that means it absolves us of not considering it carefully. I just don't think we should get overly exercised about the whole thing. Democracy, and with that elections, are a deeply held conviction for me. I have never missed a vote in my life, and I'm always going to start by wanting elections. Nor do we, as Liberal Democrats, have anything to fear from these elections and are targeting gains. So from that point of view, cancellations are personally disappointing for us, as I have some great people waiting in the wings. Okay, it just sounded, it was well timed. It was well timed, Councillor Poole, it was well timed. It is worth noting, though, within months of these May elections, RBC will be subject to a stop order on capital spending by the government as part of local government reorganisation. So within months of these elections, we will no longer be a fully autonomous organisation. And as LGR proceeds, we will become less and less autonomous. So so we are in the state now where everything is about making this borough council absolutely the best it can be ready for LGR, so that our staff are confident that they are, if I picked on a department, one of the ones that's within mine, our IT guys are the best there are. What they're doing is the most innovative. In fact, we know that they're leading on things like AI. They are implementing the best systems, and they are top-notch, and they are going to influence what happens under LGR. And I think it's really important that that's actually what we're trying to do with each of our departments. They're at the top of the game, they're doing a really good job, and they're going to influence in LGR and have an important place in that structure. It's also, I think, worth noting that within 12 months, the shadow council elections will be taking place. And that is a massive and very different mandate from voting on Rugby Borough. So when we meet next week, we'll be weighing up all of that on one side of the scale. is there anything on the other side of the scale? Is there anything on the other side which says, keep going with elections? In my view, if Rugby doesn't get a town council up and running alongside LGR, then we will be in a massive permanent democratic deficit. There is absolutely no guarantee that the shadow or the unitary would allow us to form a town council if we don't get on with it now, this municipal year. That would be a permanent deficit of the representation of these of our town, and I think it's actually something really important and does weigh on in the scales. It isn't a case of just writing a motion into council and ping, we have a town council. It's actually a really big process, doing a full democratic review of the whole borough, including the parishes. The residents will need consulting. Where would the boundaries get drawn? Which services would they run? What would the parishes want to do? Which services would the parishes want to run? Do they want to stay exactly as they are? Would they like to amalgamate? Do they want to join the town? Do they not want to join the town and form a new parish? There are a lot of questions to be asked and a lot of things to be looked at. One of the things I've mentioned in Chamber a number of times is that can we keep any of our crown jewel assets devolved down to a town council or into trust? And I think we should take this seriously. The reality is, with the costs of social care and the need for social care, without government stepping in and actually solving the problem, and this is a long-standing Liberal Democrat view, if government doesn't cut in and solve the problem of social care, it can't be solved by unitary councils. All it does is delay the inevitable bankruptcy that comes down the line with these uncapped and required costs. And I appreciate my colleagues in Warwickshire are battling, through the budget process. And these are difficult questions. And so just propping it up with the resources of the boroughs just prolongs the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. And I don't want to see the best county collection of art in this country being sold off to deal with a crisis that needs to be solved by government. I don't want to see our fantastic leisure centre, and can I say, the money that was spent on the gym was really well worth it. It's a fantastic facility. It does an amazing amount of rehab work, an amazing amount of health work with our residents. It is something is to be proud of. I don't want to see that sold off because central government hasn't fixed a problem in social care. So can we devolve these down to the town council? Can we put them in trust? What can we do? And we need to act now on that before we actually lose our right to make those decisions. And for the full democratic review, the staff that need to do that work are in the elections team. That is where the capability sits within the organisation. And this work hasn't really started yet, and there is a lot to be done. So in weighing up, on one side, the sacred democratic principle of elections with the risk that Rugbyans miss out on a town council and miss out on being at that decision-making stage while we're stuck in Purda, most of the other borough councils won't be, and they'll be at the LGR decision-making table, so that's another one on this hand. Weighing up, missing out on the long-term democratic benefit of a town council giving a voice to the majority of the population of Rugby Borough, because the majority does live here in the town. Those two things need weighing up very carefully, and that is what we will be doing with our colleagues on the 12th. The chair will then write, and that will be a public document. My expectation is that will be a public document. It will be available for everybody to see. So I hope I've given a more nuanced understanding of some of the conflicting issues that we will thoughtfully and thoroughly discuss on the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. I'm going to try and sort of attempt the impossible here. It's always a challenge to try and sort of pick up various comments and questions and try and respond as best I can. But I'll try and do a couple of. I'll try and do that as best I can. I guess in respect to a couple of comments from Councillor Ward and Councillor Poole, I've got to say that a lot of the questions you raise about how local government reorganisation will manifest itself over this coming year, they have been spelled out in the reports presented to council. I think we've had at least 2 major reports and sessions, full council sessions on this topic. So the fact that we're at this point now, and perhaps you don't maybe not grasp how significant the challenge is facing this council and all councils across the country to get the very best out of local government reorganisation is a concern. Before we know it, 2026 is going to run away with itself. We're going to do a public sounding exercise imminently in January. The government will announce their public consultation exercise or go through their public consultation exercise in February and in March. We'll imminently have a decision. All this is coming down the track, and it's vital that councillors are aware of what's being discussed and debated. Democratic institutions are, of course, absolutely vital, and we've heard and read in the reports of the 63 councils that have been put in this position to consider how to go forward. So Rugby Brough Council is not alone in taking on this challenge. However, Rugby Brough Council has been absolutely stripped to the bone in this last 20 years. And it's a testament to the staff that we have that they perform their roles without excess resource. And that's the reality. And as we, as a new administration took over in 2024 with a really positive can-do attitude, we're very, very aware of some of the limitations of what's possible because of the scarcity of resource. So that's the reality that we're on. And so some of those vital work for local government reorganisation, and Councillor Poole, you spoke at length, and I agreed with you at length on Tuesday about some of the absolutely critical work that's got to be done to protect and enhance rugby's assets and rugby's services. Councillor Livesey, you made a most perfectly eloquent statement by saying that as great as some of our staff are, that they cannot be in 2 places at once. They cannot do 2 jobs at the same time. So it does become an element of prioritisation. Yes, absolutely, the elections could go ahead, as stated in the report. And I do question why anyone has a query against that statement. Because until December the 19th and the challenge was posed, the primary role has to be for an elections team to be working on the elections. The reality, as 2026 dawns and progresses and we get further information on local government reorganisation, that challenge is going to come fast above the horizon. And so we've got to be aware of that. I think in terms of also, I think there's a general perhaps lack of awareness maybe of how this new administration running Rugby Brough Council does its job and is different to the previous 20 years. This is as far away from some sort of singular party dictatorship as could be. The Liberal Democrats, by their very nature, are very, very democratic and are very, very engaging. So all these decisions, all our discussions are really debated and evidence-based, and I think we're starting to see the benefits of that. So in the possibility that that will continue, that's an apolitical opportunity for this council to demonstrate results. And I think it's really important just to focus on some of those results. And perhaps none, to some extent, can be exemplified more by the local plan that's coming out. And I know I've been quoted a couple of times by saying it's not perfect. Well, of course, nothing in life is perfect. But I dare say it's as near to perfect as a local plan can be. We are protecting the countryside as much as possible. We are protecting the Rainsbrook Valley. We're protecting the south of Rugby that's been hammered over recent years and will be hammered over years to come. We're introducing environmental policies that are innovative and are groundbreaking. For the first time, brownfield urban sites are being allocated. excuse me, but I don't know what was going on for the preceding years and preceding local plans, but this is a local plan that will make a difference. And I think to really underscore the fact that the local plan is not some political stitch-up, those areas that I mentioned are areas that do not have Labour councillors. I think there is one very good Liberal Democrat councillor in Dunchurch, but the majority of councillors in Dunchurch and across Hill Morton are Conservative. So we've put political colours to one side by doing what's best for the town, and that's something we'll continue to do. Two favourite pet subjects, town centre regeneration. At last something is happening. And I know that's something that various manifestos have been trotted out over decades now. We're actually going to deliver now for rugby. I can't help but not mention Brandon Stadium. Is it just me that failed to notice this 20-plus acre site in the middle of a cherished village that had been left derelict for 10 years? That's an absolute abomination. It will now come forward. I can go on and on. Councillor Edwards, on Tuesday, you spoke incredibly effectively of the work being done by the housing team. So Rugby Brough Council is fortunate to own over 3,500 houses, and they're home to over 8,000 residents. We're now completing a stock survey. We're investing millions of pounds in upgrading those homes for the betterment of those families. That's on top of the £23 million being put into the fabric of those buildings. That's real change that's been delivered. So look, what we're doing is good. I think in terms of local government reorganisation, I also want to touch on that, because we'll soon be engaging with the public imminently on our rugby model of local government reorganisation in Warwickshire. And I want to send out a very clear message to anyone relevant that's listening. There will be no takeover of rugby by Warwickshire County Council. Rugby will fight its corner, and rugby will ensure that it has the democratic mandate and exists under a decentralised unitary authority, whether that's a single unitary authority, as we agree is best for rugby, or if the government goes down the line of a north-south. It's absolutely critical that Rugby Brough Council punches its weight, and that's something that we will do. And on that, I want to make a very clear statement equally that as I value local government reorganisation so highly, it's important that as well as working with residents and businesses, that we do have a cross-party approach to local government reorganisation. So I do invite all local political parties to work with us to engage on local government reorganisation for the betterment of rugby throughout 2026. Now, I know that there's been some elements here where there's been a politicisation of this topic, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. There exists a political bubble in which elections and manifestos are the be-all and end-all. Well, they're not. Actually delivering for residents, making actual change is what's important. And on that, again, it will be difficult not to reference reform. And I want to make this very clear. I personally respect and appreciate anybody that puts their name forward for public service. It's not easy, and I welcome the challenge of new ideas and the debate that it delivers. But in Warwickshire, you've got your hands full. You've got a huge responsibility with Warwickshire County Council, because it's not a secret, it had not been run well for the preceding 20 years. So the challenge is that you've got to deliver on your statements of delivering savings for the taxpayer. You've got your hands full. Education. Rugby wants and needs a school in the north. It's been crying out for 20 years. Please deliver a school for the north. Our roads and our highways need investment. So reform, you've got your hands full. And grit. Do your job. And I long for the opportunity to debate the results for rugby at the best opportunity. It would be remiss of me not to close in mentioning the good friends in opposition, the Conservative Party. And I am genuinely almost lost for words. I can't quite comprehend that the same party that is now against the idea of postponing elections in May 26 for local government reorganisation is the very party that asked to postpone elections in May 2025 for local government reorganisation. I cannot imagine what has happened in the preceding 12 months to necessitate such a change. It is galling, and it demonstrates a fast and loose approach to what's important to the public. I don't think you could make it up, but that's the fact. So instead of playing games on social media, as has been mentioned, I ask Conservative councillors to now fully participate in working groups going forward so that we can all do our best for Rugby Borough, its town and its villages. So, in conclusion, my view is that postponement of elections is not unusual in circumstances like this. Elections were postponed in Northamptonshire. A letter has gone in Nuneaton. And as I've said, elections were asked to be, there was an ask to postpone elections in Warwickshire last year. So it's not unusual.
Point of order, Chairman, please.
I'll come back to you in a second. So postponing elections is not a rarity. It happens when significant reorganisation is presented. It's a challenge. I think more so, few councils perhaps have such a challenge on resources of Rugby Brough Council, and indeed as a huge an opportunity for Rugby Brough Council. So for me, we've got to focus on delivering for residents. I agree with some of the views expressed by colleagues that postponing elections is appropriate in this instance. But at that point, I'm happy to take a point of order. Councillor Paul.
Reference the cancellation of elections in 2025 by Warwickshire County Council. Did Rugby take that view?
Do you want to answer the question or not? So, Warwickshire Conservatives asked for Warwickshire elections to be postponed or cancelled in 2025. A number of those councillors are from Rugby. That's a statement of fact. So, if you've anything else to come back to? Let's just do this properly. So, if I can come back to any cabinet colleagues that wish to say anything there, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to say, yeah, there are twin hatters, quite a lot of them, not so many in terms on the sort of Tory side. So they would have been very involved and aware of that situation. In fact, I think some of them were cabinet members as well at that point in time, although I stand to be corrected on that. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely endorse everything that Councillor McKenzie has been saying about the Town Council. There's a huge amount of work to be done, and I feel really annoyed, and I know it's not down to you, Councillor Paul, that the whole thing was pulled on town councils years ago by, it was when Seb Lowe, was actually leading the council, and we started to look at it, and I know you were very committed, Councillor Paul, and worked very hard on it, but, you know, your leader at that time just pulled the whole thing. And it has put us in a very difficult position. So I do echo what our leader is saying in hoping that you'll work with us and we just get on with it and get this stuff done so we can do the very best by the people of Rugby. Thank you.
Thank you. If any other councillors have anything to say, now's your moment. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just very briefly to come back to Councillor Paul. I think you've misunderstood the spirit of my comments recently about the working groups. What I'm trying to do is encourage you back to the table. I'm not looking backwards, I'm looking forwards. We've got a new year. That was my invitation to your group on Tuesday. The invitation's been made very strongly again by Councillor Marin just now. I'll draw a line under it. I won't ask again, but please know my door remains open.
Can I answer that, Chairman?
Yes, Councillor Poole, yes.
As I've already alluded to, Councillor Robinson, it's not for me, I won't be here. But if you just bring that topic up on the 21st at the extraordinary full council, the explanation will be given to you, and the acting leader will speak to the group and then come back to you. I can't say any more than that, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mystery, do you want to come back with the right reply?
No, Chair, I think enough said today. Thank you.
So thank you. And I really want to just kind of almost like conclude and echo Councillor Robinson's more conciliatory and engaging comments there at the end. Because when we start these things with good intentions, and then it gets very, very personal and all sorts of accusations are put together, not by you. What I'm suggesting is that going forward, we've got to work together for the benefit of rugby. The intentions here are very clear and very well-minded, because I think I don't think anyone is, there's nobody here that's not suggesting there's this much work to be done going forward for rugby, whether it's a town council, whether it's protecting its assets, whether it's looking after its housing stock, whether it's ensuring the local plan goes forward and things like that. There's many, many key things that need to be done. So I think for me, I'll move on. In light of this debate, I think regarding council resources, could I ask those in favour on the Cabinet to express a view to government in the 26 elections should be postponed? So those that are in favour of that idea, could I please ask you to raise your hand? Okay, so that's clear. The position of the Cabinet is therefore that in light of the challenges which the Council face regarding resources, the Council should express a view to the government that the 2026 elections should be postponed. So that concludes the business of the meeting. Thank you all for your time this evening, and thank you for your attendance. Thank you.